Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something super practical, especially for all you vets out there. It's about a newly discovered sign that could totally change how we diagnose spinal tumors in our patients, both dogs and cats.
Yeah, you're right on the money. We're really diving deep into this new study from veterinary radiology and ultrasound, all about a specific appearance of extradural spinal tumors they found on MRI. They're calling it the gullwing sign.
Gullwing sign. Okay, now you've got my attention. It sounds kind of poetic for something as serious as a spinal tumor, right? So tell me more. What does this gullwing sign even look like, and why is everyone making such a big deal about it?
All right, well, maybe let's do a quick recap on extradural spinal tumors first, just so we're all on the same page. They're the most common type we see in dogs and cats. And basically, they start growing outside the dura mater, which is, the outer membrane that surrounds the spinal cord.
Right, the dura. Got it.
Now, these tumors, they can be benign or malignant. And the usual suspects are those originating from bone metastases. Oh, and we can't forget about round cell neoplasia. That one affects the immune system cells. Always tricky.
Okay, so some heavy hitters there. So how does this gullwing sign fit into all of this?
Okay, so picture this. You're looking at an MRI scan, Rice. The gullwing sign, it refers to this very specific bilobed shape of the tumor. Bilobed, meaning two lobes. And you see it on a few specific MRI sequences, T2 weighted, T1 weighted, and T1 weighted, but with contrast. All within the transverse plane, of course. So like T1 and T2 weighted images, those highlight different things in the tissues. And the contrast, that helps us see how the blood vessels are involved. And because you can see this gullwing shape on all those different sequences, it makes it a much more reliable sign.
Starting to get a picture in my head. But what makes the tumor grow into this weird shape in the first place? It's not every day we see anatomy that looks like it's ready to take flight.
Right. That's the really interesting part. The study, it suggests that this shape, it happens when a ventral extradural spinal tumor, meaning it's on the underside, grows in a way that kind of like conforms to the meningovertebral ligament.
Meningovertebral ligament.
Yeah, so that ligament connects the dura mater to the vertebrae. Basically, it kind of molds the tumor into this gullwing shape as it grows.
It's like the tumor's following the rules, respecting the boundaries of the ligament. Pretty polite for a tumor, I'd say.
Exactly. And that's actually a really important point because this finding, it suggests that tumors that have this gulling sign, they might act differently than others. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's talk about why this sign has all the vets buzzing. The study, it found this super interesting link between the gulling sign and a specific kind of extradural spinal tumor, round cell neoplasia.
Oh, really? How strong is the connection? Give me some numbers.
Well, get this. The study, it found this sign in a whopping 42.3% of the cases they looked at that had round cell tumors.
Whoa, that's huge. So it's pretty common then in those types of tumors. What about in the other extradural tumors? Is it as common there?
Not even close. The gulling only popped up in 3.2% of the other tumor types. That means, when you see this on an MRI, you should seriously think about moving round cell neoplasia way up on your list of possible diagnoses. Could be a real game changer for getting things diagnosed faster and more accurately.
Wow, incredible. All from one shape. Okay, you've convinced me this could really change how we approach these cases, but you know me, I'm a visual learner, and I heard the study even included some figures showing this gullwing thing. I think we could take a look at those. I'm sure our listeners would appreciate seeing it too.
Absolutely. Let's go to figure one. This one shows a really classic symmetrical gullwing sign. And this image specifically, it's from a dog who was diagnosed with lymphoma, which, as you know, falls under the umbrella of round cell neoplasia. Now look at how the tumor has these two distinct lobes, just like the wings of a gull flying, one on each side of the spinal cord.
It's really clear, those two lobes. Just like you said, like a bird in flight.
Right. And what's cool is how this shape lines up with the anatomy we talked about before. Remember that meningovertebral ligament? You can actually see it in this image. It's this thin, dark line kind of running right down the middle. And look how the tumor's pushing up against it almost, creating those wings on either side. See, it's like what I was saying about it, respecting the boundaries.
So it's not just growing all over the place. Wild.
Yeah.
Almost seems, well, contained is a strong word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. Definitely more so than some other more aggressive types of tumors, for sure. Okay, so let's look at figure two now. This one, it shows another example of the gullwing sign. And again, it's from a dog with lymphoma. But here's the thing. This time, it's asymmetrical. See how one of the wings is bigger than the other?
Ah, I see it. So it doesn't always have to be perfectly symmetrical for it to be like meaningful diagnostically speaking. That's really important to keep in mind.
You got it. And that just goes to show why it's so important to know the different ways the sign can show up. You really got to keep your eyes peeled. And check this out. Look closer at how that bigger lobe in this picture, it's actually compressing the spinal cord.
Ooh, yeah. Yikes, that's not good.
Nope. And that brings up another super important point about the clinical side of all this.
Right, of course. Because at the end of the day, it's not about just finding a cool shape on an MRI. It's about what that shape means for the patient, right?
Exactly. So this study, it's all about the imaging, but we can't forget what that means clinically. Dogs with these extradural spinal tumors, they usually come in with neurological problems, right? And how bad those problems are, it often depends on where the tumor is, how big it is, and how much it's pushing on the spinal cord.
So like in figure 2 there, that lopsided compression, that could be causing some real trouble for that poor dog.
Yeah, you're right on. Okay, now for figure 3, this one shows the gullwing sign again, but this time it's in a dog with a plasma cell tumor. Now, that's another type of round cell neoplasia. So even though lymphoma and plasma cell tumors, they're different, they both fit under that bigger round cell neoplasia category. And remember, the study found a really strong link between that and this gulling we keep seeing.
Okay, I'm seeing the pattern here. Seeing all these different gulling shapes, it really drives home the point that it's not going to look exactly the same every time. But the common thread, it seems like, is that link to round cell neoplasia.
Bingo. And that's really the heart of what makes this study so important. Imagine this. You're looking at an MRI, maybe you're suspicious of a spinal problem in a dog, and you see this distinct gulling shape. Doesn't have to be perfect, maybe it's subtle, maybe it's asymmetrical like we've seen, but boom, right away, your radar's going off for round cell neoplasia.
Like a big flashing neon sign, right? Saying, hey, pay attention, this could be something specific, this is getting exciting. But what about treatment? How does knowing about this gulling change what I do as a vet?
$1 million question, right? And this particular study, it doesn't get into the specifics of treatment. But here's the thing. Getting the diagnosis right and getting it early, that's always the most important thing. Recognizing this gulling sign, it can help you get to the bottom of things faster.
Instead of having to rule out every single thing under the sun, you can be like, okay, is it this specific thing or not? That could save a lot of time, a lot of stress, and help you make treatment decisions faster too.
You got it. And this is something I tell all my colleagues. Teamwork is key, right? Talk to your radiology team. They're your best friends in these cases.
Yeah, no more lone wolf vets like in those old movies. Takes a village or maybe a whole pack. But seriously, this has been amazing. Who knew one little shape on an MRI could tell us so much? It's like we cracked a secret code.
It is. It just shows you how far we've come with veterinary radiology.
Yeah.
Always learning new things, finding new ways to use these images to really help our patients. Amazing, right?
Totally. So for all our vet friends out there listening, what's the one thing you want them to take away from all of this? What's that light bulb moment they can take back to their practice?
You know, if I had to pick one thing, it's awareness. Just knowing about this gulling sign, anytime you're looking at spinal MRIs, especially if you think it could be an extradural tumor, look for it. It might not be perfect, might be subtle, might be a little off-center, we've seen that. But if you see that shape, boom, your antennae are up for round cell neoplasia. That heads up, it could make all the difference. Faster diagnosis, more targeted tests, and hopefully better outcomes for our furry patients.
Keep those eyes peeled for those gull wings. This is big news, everybody. This is the kind of info that can really change things for your patients. And on that note, we're wrapping up another deep dive from Vet Neuro Jar. Keep those minds inspired, hearts light, and tails wagging.